Howdy. Today we have Kevin Blake Weldon, who is a man of many talents, from being a screenwriter, an actor, an entertainer, and a former Curb Records Nashville country music recording artist and songwriter. Ken truly has done it all and is doing a whole lot more. His funny hunting songs parody project hit massive success, like over 50 million views and downloads globally. Kevin's charismatic and kind presence makes him one of the most sought-after entertainers, master of ceremonies, and keynote speakers for conservation organizations and corporations in the United States of America and abroad. Plus, mentored by the legendary Bob Proctor, Kevin now helps people transform their lives, and he does some relationship coaching in new business alongside his beautiful fiancée, Natalie Bouchard. And this wasn't enough. Ken is currently working on his very first film. It is his passion, his dividing purpose, his driving purpose, the wish list. And you're going to find out more about that, where he'll not only star, but he'll bring his writing talents to the big screen with Glenn Morshower directing. Let's welcome to the screen the star of our show, Kevin Blake Weldon, and a friend of mine from acting class. And we actually met in person in Dallas, Texas at the Ken and Glenn show. And Eric's got a picture of us that he's going to pop up. And we can say all the big group that came to support Ken Walls and Glenn Morshower. And we're like, in the back, because we're not like, here we are. But there we are. Did you see? So there's Kevin on the left, right behind the gentleman in the blue with the black hat on. You can find him anywhere. That's how Bob Proctor got to know him, with his big black cowboy hat. And I'm in between Ken and Glenn, our fabulous mentors, coaches, and friends. So, Kevin, you've worn so many hats in your career: country artist, entertainer, speaker, and now screenwriter. Which role has been the most fulfilling for you so far? Or do you want to just jump to the one that you're on now?
What's been the most fulfilling is just life. It's been all of it, because, I remember not too long ago, and first, before we get into it, thank you so much for having me, Cynthia. It's so good to see you again, and I'm glad to be here. We're going to have a lot of fun. I can tell you that right now.
Woohoo!
But no, I was just thinking about this not too long ago. Because there for a while I kind of got away from my serious music and got on this funny hunting songs parody comedy project that I started. And it started out as a joke, and then it just took off and went viral. And so for about 12, 15 years or so, that's where I made most of my impact as far as my music and my talent goes, was around it started out called Bad Bob and Jimmy. And then I went to, because I didn't brand myself. Nobody even knew that was me. So I went to Kevin Blake Weldon as Bad Bob and Jimmy, and then it went to Kevin Blake Weldon's Funny Hunting Songs. So it was a wonderful project. I got to meet so many amazing people and had so many opportunities. And that was after Nashville. And then, from there, of course, I went and met Bob Proctor. And one of my lifelong, dreams in my heart was to one day, be a movie star. So I didn't know how all that was going to come about, but meeting Bob and going through Bob's, training program and being personally mentored by him, he said, you should be in the movies. And so he introduced me to a Hollywood movie producer. I got the wheels turning, and then, well, we can get into more of that as we get going, but it's just been a wonderful journey so far, Cynthia, and I'm glad to be here.
You had so much fun, and we're so happy that you're here, and you're such a great presence. And he is a presence, and he's a humble man that whatever class he's in, he is present doing his work. I mean, just like all of us, doing our exercises daily to prepare him for the wish list. And it's been really fascinating to watch your growth. He has, you can catch him on YouTube and all of the channels, because his music is out there, and then you need to go in and listen to it and see these little hunting things. They are hysterical. Kevin's got talent in his little finger. He can rewrite any song and make it into a new song. With a beer or two.
Well, that's where that got started. That was back in 2003. So yeah, we'll save that story for another day.
Okay, what inspired you to dive into songwriting and pursue a music career with the Curb Records in Nashville in the first place?
I grew up playing baseball. I always thought that that was going to be what I would do. I love baseball since I was, 6, 7 years old. And I was very fortunate to be on some really good teams growing up. We were on several World Series championship teams in the Dixie youth program. I got a pitching scholarship in junior college. But while I was in Alvin Community College, I hurt my arm. I blew out my rotator cuff, and I had a serious talk with the coach, and he said, "Your chances are not real good, Weldon." And I said, "Well, I'll tell you what, coach, I'm going to give my scholarship back. I'm going to take up guitar. And the next time you see me, I'm going to be on TNN." Now, this is before CMT, okay? TNN was the Nashville network, and they played music videos, and that was the music video channel before CMT came out. As it turns out, 5 years after that, I signed my recording contract to Curb Records, and in 1997, I debuted on CMT with my first music video, was a song that we got into the top 40 with. So that was one of the first manifestations that I've actually had happen in my life that I set out to accomplish, and I did. And from then, man, it's like I realized that anything can happen. And I didn't really understand how this whole manifestation business works until I went to see Bob Proctor in 2019. And then I realized I was what Bob called an unconscious competent, where I manifested things and I didn't even really know what I was doing. But the key is, Cynthia, is I got attached to what I loved, what I really loved in my heart, and I followed that. And I didn't listen to the outside noise of, who are you to do that? Nobody in our family's done that. You don't listen to any of that. You're not good enough, or you're not this, or you're not that. You just get attached to something that you love, and you start moving forward. And the next thing you know, things start to happen.
How would you tell our audience how to reprogram themselves so that they can get to that place, that special place where you listen to your inner voice?
That's a great question, Cynthia. And the first thing that has to happen is that we all have to realize that we have been conditioned and programmed by other people. We've been conditioned and programmed by other people. From the moment we're born, the house that we were brought up in, the parents that we had, the siblings that we had, the neighborhood that we grew up in, the church that we went to or didn't go to, the school that we went to, the neighbors, the friends, what you watch on TV, what you listen to on the radio, all of those things have gone to program our mind. Okay. But our heart was programmed by God. Some people may not want to go there, but I do. Our heart was programmed. And we came here with a perfect heart. We came here with the ability to tap into that infinite intelligence, that genius. We all have the ability to tap into that. But if we don't ever know that that's what's going on, then we can't ever reprogram ourselves. But once we understand that and we look at our life and we say, well, I don't like the way this is going. I don't like the way that's happened. Why? You start to question, start to ask those questions. You'll start to understand that we've been conditioned or programmed with other people's beliefs. And one of the things that Bob Proctor used to teach us was that if we will reevaluate our beliefs, ask ourselves, is this belief serving me? When and where did I start to believe this to begin with? We can reevaluate those beliefs. And if we don't like them, we can change them. And so we can truly go and reprogram our mindset with what we want, not what we've been forced. But it's not an easy thing to do, but it can be done. And when we get on that journey, which I got on that journey, and I started to see a lot of limiting beliefs that I was brought up with, and it was never done intentionally, Cynthia. Not by our family and friends. It was never done intentionally. Now the government, that's a different story. We'll have another podcast on that. But once we realize that and we understand that, Cynthia, then we can start asking the questions. Well, who am I? And if we don't know who we are, then we can get on that journey. And we can start asking those questions and then just listen to the answers that are going to start to happen. Start noticing the people that are coming into your life. And when you do that, I mean, you can literally go within and find everything you've ever dreamed of that you wanted, and you can completely change your life. I know, because I've done it and I'm still doing it. So that's a deep question. We could be here for hours talking about that one subject. But again, the most important thing is that we have to realize that we have been programmed by people outside of ourselves, and we just have to make the decision, well, who do I want to be? And I remember I created this vision board when I first started to understand this, Cynthia, and I started to write out, well, who would I be if I could be anybody that I want to be? I would want to be someone that was kind, which I've been pretty much a kind person my whole life. I would want to be generous. I would want to be respectful. I would want to be prosperous. I would want to be positive. I would want to be creative. All these things, and just write out. This is who I would love to be. I would love somebody that you can count on, somebody that's dependable, somebody that's honest, somebody that all of these things, these qualities that I'd admired in other people. And if you will, and Bob used to say this, you can tell yourself a lie enough times, you'll start to believe it's the truth. Well, you can do the same thing with about who you are. If you don't believe, well, I'm not a talented person. Well, if you believe that, then you're going to continue to prove that right. But if you start writing out, I'm talented, I'm kind, I'm successful, I'm healthy, I'm desirable. If you start writing those things out and you read those to yourself, now there's more to it than that, but it can be this simple. Who would you love to be? And start to claim that about yourself. Speak that about yourself, because the most important words that you're ever going to hear are the ones that come out of your own mouth. I don't know if you've ever heard that before, but too many times, especially if we don't understand this, our self-talk is going to be, I'm never going to make it. I'm such a loser. How could I be so stupid? Why do I keep creating these same results in my life? I'm such an idiot. I mean, you hear it all the time. So once you understand that you can reprogram your mind, get that in harmony with your heart. And that's one of the things that Natalie has really been helping me with these last couple of weeks. She really stumbled on something big here just recently, and it's about the harmony, and it's about getting your head and your heart in alignment with each other. And when you do that, man, there's no stopping you. But just make sure it's what you truly love, and you're not doing it because somebody said you should do this, or you would be good at that. You might be good at it, but is it what you really love?
You have to tell them how you met Natalie now in that piece. But you know what, Natalie, if you're listening, I just want to tell you, I jumped onto a couple replays. I really wish I could have been there for every single one, but I want to be, and I want to catch up, because the relationship that you two are building is amazing, and the community that you're building is amazing, and it's just full of the love and listening to that passion and who you are, and the story is fabulous.
Cynthia, again, we can never tell other people how to live their life. We can never tell other people what to do. We can be an example. We've all heard, by your fruits, they will know you. Be the example, set the example. And that's one thing that Natalie and I wanted to do. Now, have we made our mistakes? Yeah. Have we had rocky times in our relationships? Absolutely. But we understand what's going on. See, we used to not know what's going on. But I'm going to tell the story, quick, because it's a really detailed, long, drawn out story. But basically what happened is, in 2018, I started following Bob Proctor again. And because I'd seen him on the movie The Secret, years ago, the law of attraction. And I started following a lot of his teachings on YouTube. And there was a video about this event in Toronto that was going to be coming up. And something inside me said, you're supposed to be there. I mean, it was so strong, Cynthia. I knew it. Said, you have to be at this event. And it was very expensive, way more than I would have ever even imagined that I would pay. But I wanted to go be in the presence of Bob Proctor. And I wanted to go and hear what he was teaching. And I wanted to feel that energy and meet the people. And so I set an intention that I was going to go, and not only go, but I was going to meet him and become friends with him. And I did. I brought my guitar. Next thing you know, his son hears me singing. They get me up on stage. But one of the big things that I wrote down that I wanted, and I even created a vision board around it, was I wanted to attract the love of my life into my life. And Bob showed me how to create this vision board, and I created this vision board, wrote all these things down. I even put, I will meet her. I even set a date. I will meet her before May of 2019. And I did this in December, early December. I'm going to meet her before May, or before May the 1st. I met Natalie at that event, not the one in Toronto. All right. Bob heard me. Bob said, you need to come out to LA, come be my VIP guest. I want to put you on stage in front of 500 people. It's going to live stream to 5,000 people around the world. Would love for you to come and share your talents. And I want to introduce you to a Hollywood movie producer. But when Bob told me the date of this event, April 25th, 26th, and 27th, the first thing that popped into my mind is, that is where I'm going to meet her. Not, yay, I get to go perform on stage with Bob. Not, I'm going to meet a Hollywood producer, but that is where I'm going to meet her. you've got to hear Natalie's side of the story. She wasn't supposed to be there either. She didn't know anything about this event 3 days prior. And here she is, didn't even know how or why, but something said, you have to go to this event. She shows up, we meet. I mean, almost instantly we knew, and it's just been unbelievable. And here's a really crazy thing. Every single thing that I had written down on my vision board that I wanted was Natalie to a T. All the way down to, I even put down, she loves to snow ski. Natalie lives in Calgary, or in Airdrie, Alberta, an hour and a half from some of the finest snow skiing in all of the Canadian Rockies. She had her own skis and her own fitted ski boots. All right. I also put, I wanted someone that was, healthy and in shape. Natalie, at 40 years old, and this was several years back, but at 40 years old, she was number 3 in the world in women's bodybuilding over 40. Who came in first and second? 2 girls in their 20s with no kids. Natalie went from over 200 pounds with her pregnancies on several different medications, unhealthy, and within a 2-year period of time, completely transformed her body in a way that doesn't even look possible. But what we are capable of doing, how God is, how our body is, how we are created, what we have available to us when we can tap into that frequency is beyond anything that anybody can imagine. So to go from what she did to number 3 in the world, I just wanted somebody that looked good and was in shape and healthy. And here I am, and she started showing me these pictures of her on Instagram, and I'm like, oh my God, I felt like I was doing something wrong for looking at these pictures. This is amazing. So yes,
Well,
we met, and then not long after we met, we really felt the pull towards Bob. Of course, we had to give Bob credit for bringing us together in an indirect way. But
mhm.
we went through we felt pulled to go through Bob's training program. So we invested a lot to go through Bob's training, and we became certified to teach. And I did it because I wanted to grow myself,
Mhm.
but Natalie found her calling in life. And so she quit her 6-figure corporate job and went full on into this line of work. And she has been through so many different coaches and certifications, and she's way outgrown just mindset. And what she is doing now is unbelievable, because it's helped me in ways that I never thought I could be helped. But it's truly amazing at what she's doing. And for us to be together and having weathered COVID, because that got really rough in there, and we had some things that didn't happen, and we started having, her paradigm came out, my paradigm came out, we started having some challenges in our relationship. We've been spent about 5 months apart this year, but when we came back together, because we knew what was going on, and we knew that we were supposed to be together, and when we started to see what was really going on in our relationship, we knew exactly what to do, and we've healed that relationship. And now greater things are happening than we could have imagined 6 months ago. And it just keeps getting better. So I could talk about this for a long time because I'm so passionate about it, but she's an amazing woman. And I'm so grateful that we found each other.
Ah, it's so beautiful. Maybe you should break out in song right now. If she was sitting right here, what would you play? What would you
Well,
sing to her right now
let,
with
let me,
all
let me
that
tell you.
love? And
So
the fact that you're doing this together, ah,
I have to share this part of the story. So when I met Natalie, we had a mutual friend. The mutual friend was at the event in March in Toronto, and she orchestrated Natalie and I being in the same place to meet. Well, I was actually in the lobby of the Los Angeles Airport Hilton Hotel. This is where the event was, and I was out in the lobby on Friday evening, April 26th, and I had my guitar and I was singing out in the lobby, and a lot of the attendees were there. A lot of friends that I'd made at the previous event were there, and I was singing. And Natalie was, before I'd met her, okay, she'd seen me on stage, and her friend was going to introduce us, but we hadn't been introduced yet. Natalie's sitting, just a little, maybe 10, 12 feet away in a chair, and I'm singing, and I sing to people. I look at people, I sing to them. I get to Natalie. Well, she turns away. She won't make eye contact with me. First time, no big deal. Well, I scan back around. I see her sitting there again. And again, she turns away. She won't make eye contact. And I literally said to myself, Cynthia, while I'm singing, I literally said to myself, woman, why won't you look at me? And I could feel this energy. And so I go back and out of my corner of my eye now, she's got my attention. And I can feel this energy between us. I can see her looking at me. And so I turned real fast to look at her. Again, she turned away. And the third time when she turned away, the person sitting next to her got up. I made a beeline and went and sat down next to her. And a friend of ours actually took the picture the moment I sat down. And she had this, she's doing like this, don't sing to me, and we just got to talking, and that was, 5.5 years ago. So I wrote a song because I remember telling her the story, and she's like, woman, who you calling woman? Like, that's not how, when you're from Texas, that's not how you mean it. I didn't mean it disrespectfully, but I wrote a song, and I remember she was in Nashville because I was recording a new album, and she was, I'd made her this real romantic bubble bath and a wine and candles. And I came in, I sat down on the toilet seat with my guitar, and I was singing to her, and I started making up this song about the night we met. It's called Woman, Why Won't You Look at Me? I'm going to do this song for you. And a spoiler alert, this is the song that is the big finish to the movie, The Wish List.
Ooh,
So
you're in for a treat, ladies and gentlemen.
This is the song. So it's called Woman, Why Won't You Look at Me? There's so much more going on here than meets the eye. Look around this room, it's plain to see. Everyone here is seeing something magical. All eyes are on you and me. So woman, why won't you look at me? Woman, why won't you look at me? So what are you afraid of? Are you afraid to love again? So what are you afraid of? Are you afraid to love again? Afraid of what you're gonna see? Are you afraid you won't see what you wanna see? Woman, why won't you look at me? 'Cause I know what's running through your mind. There's a million reasons why this won't work, so why even try? I don't know how long it's been since you've let someone in. I just know, girl, I'm not that guy. So woman, why won't you look at me? Woman, why won't you look at me? Woman, why won't you look at me? There's so much more going on here than meets the eye. Look around the room, it's plain to see. Everyone here is seeing something magical. All eyes are on you and me. So woman, why won't you look at me? 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 Look at me.
So beautiful. Bob Donnelly says beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Hello, Eric B. Fenoy and Grace and Kevin and MD Naza and everyone that's joining us. Did you not enjoy that treat? Did your heart just not melt? Every woman's going to be thinking about that song. That's going to be, whew, I can't wait to see this movie. You got to hurry up and make it. We're all like dying for the wish list, which he's shooting starting probably in January 2025 in Lupkin, Texas.
That's correct.
Yes. Can you tell us more about your funny hunting songs?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Became a viral hit. Hey, Dan. Yeah, wasn't that amazing? Maybe he'll do a song at the end too. Hang around. Let's find out like his funny side here. He's got a really funny side.
Well, Cynthia, this started out as a joke. Okay, so at the end of 1999, when I signed my record deal to Curb Records, which was amazing, by the way. I mean, I spent 4.5 years in Nashville on Curb Records with Tim McGraw and Leanne Rhymes and Hal Ketchum, Sawyer Brown. We were produced by a guy named Chuck Howard, who was the one who produced Leanne Rhymes, Jeff Carson, Hank Jr. I mean, he so many people. But when I signed the record deal in Nashville, that was like the most amazing thing that had ever happened to me. Because back up 5 years earlier, when I first started playing music, I
Mhm.
told everybody, I'm going to get a record deal in 5 years. Now, why did I say that? I don't know. But my first paid performance was in June of 1990 at a little place in Bayou Vista, Texas called the Pizza Pub. And I made $104, and that included $29 in my tip jar. All right.
Woohoo!
That was my first paid performance, June of 1990. I'm not sure what the date was. I signed my record deal in June of 1995. So that
Woohoo!
was one of my first experiences of claiming something and manifesting it. And I don't know why I said 5 years, but it just came out. I'm going to get a record deal in 5 years. And in 5 years, and I don't even know that it wasn't to the exact day,
Mm.
because when Mike Curb, we actually sat in Mike Curb's office and played live for him. We did 3 songs, and he stood up and said, "We would love to have you at Curb Records if you'd like to sign with us." I would not be surprised if I could go back and know exactly when it was. I would not be one bit surprised
Me
if it
neither.
wasn't the exact same day in June from 1990 to 1995 when that happened. Because this is the way the law of attraction works. This is the way manifesting works. A lot of times you don't know where these pieces are going to come from. Steve Jobs talks about you can connect the dots looking backwards. But when
Mhm.
you're in the middle of your dream and your journey, you don't know what's going to happen next. But you continue, as Glenn says, we just keep putting ourselves out there. We keep doing the thing. Bob says, if you'll do the thing, you'll get the energy to do the thing. But if you just sit around and talk about doing the thing and you never do the thing, then it's never going to happen. So do the thing, and that will give you the energy to do the thing. So you put one step in front of the other. You never know where that next dot is going to lead to. You might wake up one day and you get an email that says, "Hey, this is Cynthia Manion. Would you love to come and be on my podcast?" And you're like, "Yeah, I'd love to." And honestly, Cynthia, there's no telling what's going to come out of this. There's always it's just a progression of dots that just connect. But so after I transitioned, and Natalie taught me this, we don't talk about losing anything. I mean, it's just all a part of our journey. So
Mhm.
when I transitioned away from Curb Records and transitioned back to Lufkin, Texas, I'm sure
Mhm.
you guys can read between the lines here.
Mhm.
I didn't know what I was going to do. I was devastated. I was heartbroken. I was like, how could this happen? I mean, I had the world by the tail. We were on A-list. We're in all these, and then nothing. No record deal, no publishing deal, no money. You charge up all your credit cards thinking that somebody's fixing to call you and give you a new deal, and it doesn't happen. 2 years later, you file in bankruptcy. I mean, this is what happened.
Mhm.
And I didn't understand all this now, but looking back, it all makes perfect sense. So in 2003, because of the success that I'd had in Nashville, I had a lot of opportunities. And I was invited to perform at different events within the outdoors industry. Back then, I was doing a lot of hunting and fishing and things like that. That's kind of how I grew up. And a lot of doors started to open, and one thing led to another, led to another. Well, I'm entertaining at this event for the National Wild Turkey Federation. It's a large conservation organization here in the United States. And they would bring me in to entertain at their fundraising banquets. Well, there was a chapter in Illinois that didn't have enough in their budget to pay me my full going rate. And
Mhm.
they said, "Well, how about we pay you half, but we also give you a free hunt?" And back then, that's like music to my ears. Like, okay, where do I sign? I go on this free hunt. We come in one evening, and you're at deer camp now, so things happen at deer camp. We're sitting around drinking a few, adult beverages,
Mhm.
and there were people there that knew me, and they'd been around me before, and they said, "Well, whenever Kevin gets to drinking beer, he'll start changing the words up, and it's funny as crap. So if he does that, somebody better be recording it or writing it down, because he won't remember the next day what he said. It just comes off the cuff." So that happened. I started making up the words to this Tim McGraw song, "Country Boys and Girls Getting Down on the Farm." Y'all remember that song? Every
Yeah.
Friday night there's a steady cloud of dust. Well, I started making up new words around it, around this fictional character that I created named Bad Bob. and his sidekick Jimmy. I just make stuff up, started making this up, and everybody's
Nothing
just rolling laughing. Well, the next day, we get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, go hunting. I come in from the hunt, and laying there on the table is a legal pad with these lyrics. Because one of the guys told his girlfriend, "Hey, write this stuff down." She actually wrote down these lyrics that I was making up. And I saw this pastor, "What is this?" And I started laughing. "Oh yeah, I was singing this last night." I grabbed the guitar, I finished the song, and the next thing you know, I've got an investor in Mississippi putting up a lot of money, and
Woohoo.
now we're in the studio, and this is now all of a sudden this is an album, and that song is on there, and there's some other songs on there. I took a friends in low places and I changed up the words to "I hunt deer in posted places," and that went viral. And then after that, "The Spotlight Glows," which was a parody of "The Thunder Rolls," that went viral. Then "If
Oh,
It's
I love that one. Yes, that's a good
that
one.
went viral. And the next thing you know, I've got another investor that comes in. We wound up having 4 albums. Then we started doing music videos. And we did a music video for a song. It was a parody of I'm pretty good at drinking beer. Well, my version was "I'm pretty bad at hunting deer." And we put a music video out on YouTube. And the next thing you know, we look up, it's got 1 million views. And we're like, "Oh my gosh, this is crazy." Then we had 2 million views. Then we had 3 million views. It's getting close to 4 now. So after that, I wrote a new album, and it was bigger than all the other 3 combined, and it had songs on it that just went viral. The biggest one on that one was a parody of Lee Brice had a song called "I Drive Your Truck," and it just I don't know how my brain works, but I heard "She Shot My Buck," so I wrote this song called "She Shot My Buck." We
Yeah.
put that music video out, and it's getting close to 4 million views now. So that stuff just went viral. It opened up a lot of new opportunities for me. But then not too long after that, my oldest daughter went vegan, and then my youngest daughter went vegan, and you know, it just really took the desire to go and hunt. And listen, everybody can choose their own way, but for me, I started pulling back from that. And it was about that time that I really started getting involved with a lot of what Bob Proctor was doing, and things just kind of shifted for me. But I really did very well with that music, and it went viral. I mean, it kept me alive for 15 years. I mean, I still earn royalties every Monday from a lot of the projects during that time that I put out. So I'm very grateful for that. But I've shifted away from that now into more of a new country music album that I recorded during COVID, an album called Jeans. I put that out, and then of course that has "Woman, Why Won't You Look at Me?" And then I decided that I was going to get into writing my movie.
Mm, yeah. Well, Grace has a question real quick, and then let's hear more about that. She wants to know, are the new words on existing music? Do the authors of the music care? They probably love it because then everyone goes and listens to both.
Yes. There's a very fine line in there. There's a lot of gray area also. Um, Parodies, Fair Use Act. I mean, I could get into the legalities, but that's kind of boring. But yes and no. Some authors didn't want me to parody their work, but you just do it anyway. I mean, you haven't really made a big enough dent. I'm not using their music. I went in and recorded, brought in my own musicians and paid to record the songs from scratch. So I own the masters of that, and then I wrote the new lyrics. There were some publishing companies that I did strike deals with that I actually paid royalties for, and then it just got to a point where I have a right to go create a living too. But what happened is a lot of those songs, what it started doing is it started driving up the sales for the original version. A
Mhm.
lot of people had never even heard some of these songs because I had a much wider audience than just country music because of the whole outdoor industry thing. And those parodies actually increased sales for some of those bigger songs. They saw an uptick in their sales when my parody started coming out because people wanted, "What's that based on? I want to go hear that song." There's people like, I'd never even heard that song, the original version before. They just thought mine was the original version. But I also wrote some original funny songs in there too, like Bucky the Bionic Buck, and That's What You Get for Shooting My Buck, and just other crazy, grunt and horn rattling fool. So, and again, and that's another reason why I've moved back into what I really feel in my heart I'm supposed to do, and that's create my own original stuff. And so that's what I've done.
Do you want to play one of those so that everyone knows what we mean by this particular genre?
How about I just give you just a little piece of one?
Okay, which
Okay.
one?
Okay, listen, if you
I can't
wanna go s
decide.
the
Thunder
music
Rose
videos
or
the music
something like that.
videos are incredible.
Adorable. Yeah, you
You
should all go watch the Buck one.
you can go to YouTube and just put in "She Shot My Buck"
Yep.
or "I'm Pretty Bad at Hunting Deer"
Mhm.
or "Boot Lip Duck Club."
Oh, I
That's
haven't seen that
actually
one.
one of my favorite videos. That it only got like maybe 150,000 views because it's more for the
Only.
duck hunters. But I love that video because it's got my character Jimmy Huck. Well, they all have my character Jimmy Huckleberry in them. But it's just But yeah. So what I would do, just for example, I would take a song, that I would play at my concerts, and all of a sudden these crazy lyrics would come together. So instead of hearing uh, 3:30 in the morning, not a soul in sight. City's looking like a ghost town on a moonlit summer night. Raindrops on the windshield, there's a storm moving in. He's headed back from somewhere that he never should have been. And the thunder rolls. Yeah, the thunder rolls. Y'all heard that, right?
Right.
Well, my mind hears 3:30 in the morning, not a soul in sight. Steering wheel in my left hand and my spotlight in my right. I'm out looking for a big buck, 'cause there's a contest to win. I can't let old bad Bob beat me out again. So the spotlight glows. Yeah, the spotlight glows. So for the hunters out there, I'm telling you, this stuff went absolutely viral. And it, like I said, Cynthia, it kept me alive for a lot of years because it allowed me to go out and do a lot of entertaining. I got to MC a lot of big fundraising banquets in the outdoors industry. I wrote the theme song for the Legends of the Outdoors National Hall of Fame. So I got to go perform it at all their induction banquets. So I got to meet all the people like, Johnny Morse, who owns Bass Pro Shops, and, Hank Parker and Jimmy Houston. I mean, all these big, celebrities in the outdoor industry. And then I got to meet a lot of the other people like Brett Favre that love to hunt, uh, Chipper Jones, Barry Bonds. I got to be around so many amazing people and do so many amazing things. I got to open up a concert for Jason Aldean out at Adam LaRoche's ranch in Kansas. And it was just amazing. I wrote the theme song for the Muley Fanatic Foundation, which is a big conservation organization out west. I did dozens of their fundraising banquets. And then one day somebody didn't show up that was supposed to MC. So then I got to MC, and then I started MCing all of them. And it just one thing after another. And then you just kind of get to the point where you just kind of get burned out, and you really know that you're not really pursuing what you really want to do. And so I kind of started easing out of that. And that's, like I said, that's when I met Bob Proctor.
And Ken Walls and Glenn Morshower shortly thereafter. After you got all certified and got all that good Bob Proctor stuff in it, Glenn Morshower and Ken Walls took you to the next level.
Well, what's really interesting about, and again, this all happened as a result of me making the decision to start working on the script, because I wrote a song called "The Wish List," and the performance music video for "The Wish List" is actually on YouTube as well. But it's a song I wrote for my church all the way back in 2001, and
Mm.
the church that I grew up in had they every year they do this thing called Evening in Old Bethlehem. They turned the Expo Center in Lufkin, Texas, into an old town Bethlehem, complete with live nativity, wise men, shepherds, goats, you name it. And people from actually all over the world come to this event. They make a donation and they go through. Well, on Sunday morning, they wanted to actually have a church service in this Expo Center. And they thought, well, maybe if Kevin comes and sings, maybe we can maybe bring a few more people that might not ordinarily come. So I said, yes, I would love to sing. I transitioned out of Nashville. I'd had writer's block, Cynthia, for almost 2 years, which we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. But I committed to writing an original song for this service. And I felt like if I put myself on the hook, then maybe that'll help break me out of this writer's block. So I'm literally sitting at the computer the Wednesday before the service on Sunday. We're talking 4 days. And I'm composing an email to the music director, said, I'm going to sing Silent Night. Little Town of Bethlehem, an original song I wrote just for the service called, and I had nothing. I had nothing. And I was literally panicking. Am I going to chicken out? Just do another, do another cover song. And I just remember sitting there just praying, said, God, just please give me an idea. And no sooner did I say that, Cynthia, than I started to see this in my mind. I started to see this image of this little boy at Walmart, and he dropped his wish list. And I reached down and picked it up, and I saw something on that wish list for everybody except for himself. And I just literally got tears in my eyes. I'm like, that's it, the wish list. So I put the wish list and I hit send. And then the panic really kicked in. I said, oh my God, they're going to put this in the bulletin and I'm going to show up Sunday morning and I better have a song called The Wish List. And I said, God, please just help me write this song. Cynthia, within an hour, I had written the song.
Of course you did.
And I performed it at the church service. I got to share that story. The pastor gets up and says, God, if that's writer's block, could you give me some of that? Standing ovation, 300 people. And
Woo!
after that, I said, one of these days, and how many of us have done this? One of these days, one of these days, I'm gonna make a movie around this little boy and called The Wish List. And Cynthia, that was 2001. It took me until 2009 before I ever even recorded the song, all right, in the studio. So I've been thinking about this for 8 years before I even went in the studio and recorded the song, The Wish List. So I recorded it, and I just kept every year. I said, one of these days I'm going to write the script. Well, Bob Proctor taught me how we don't do that. We don't say one of these days I'm going to, because one of these days may not ever come.
Mm-hmm.
Make the decision. If it's something that you feel in alignment with, make the decision. You set your intention, you make that decision, and let the universe reveal how it's going to happen. So finally, in December of 2022, I finally made the decision to start writing the script for The Wish List. And I wrote the script in 30 days. And then one thing led to another, to me hiring a consultant who analyzed the script, sent back the notes. I rewrote again. I submitted, paid her again. Here's more notes, rewrote again. After the third or fourth rewrite, this particular consultant said, you have something here. And I would be very interested in directing this. So that really got me excited. Well, then I had to go raise the money. All right. So that's when, and then that journey, just like this, we're going to invest. And then nobody, hey, you said you're going to invest. We're not really into that sort of thing. And it just like this. I mean, I'm literally up and down, up and down. After this one particular company that was going to invest the money, after they said, sorry, we can't, we're not in a position to right now, COVID, blah, blah, blah. I just put everything on hold. And I said, I'm not going to try to force anything. I'm just going to feel what rolls into this. Here's what happened. When I did that, Natalie and I heard about an event out in Los Angeles. It was very expensive. We decided if we got the early bird, we could get 2 tickets for the price of one. We paid the early bird, got 2 tickets. We both went out there. At that event, they had me get up and perform. And I got to share a little bit about The Wish List. There was a guy in the audience, Jeffrey Wolf, they call him Wolfie.
Oh, yes.
Heard me, says, hey, we need to talk. Do you know Glenn Morshower? I'm like, that name sounds familiar. He pulls up a picture and shows me Glenn. I said, oh, yeah, I love Glenn. I saw him in Under Siege was the first movie I saw Glenn in with Steven Seagal back in the 90s. That was one of my favorites. And then I'd seen him in 24, Agent Aaron Pierce, in 24 with Kiefer Sutherland. He goes, Glenn has an acting workshop. He said, I'm going to get you connected with his wife, and they will let you come and audit the class, meaning sit in on it. And so I did. Carolyn sent me an email. I said, I'd like to come and audit the Tuesday day. That was the schedule that worked for me. And they sent me a link. I get into the class, and Glenn sees there's somebody new here and starts asking me, a little bit about myself. And I tell him who I am. And he goes, do you have any music we can look up? And I give him some music. He pulls it up on YouTube, and he's going nuts over it. Next thing you know, he said, can I share this with other classes? And I said in the class, and then I heard that and I wasn't a working actor. Okay, now this is for working actors, but I knew I wanted to, and I knew I had written the script. And I figured at some point I'm going to ask Glenn if he would like to read my script, but not right away. So I sent in an audition tape for Glenn's class. Well, they accepted me in. even though I had music video experience, but never acting in a movie or TV. So they approved me to become a member of the class. And so I started doing my scene work. And so this was in September. December, I'm back in Texas, and I reached out to Glenn and said, "Hey, I'm in town for a week or so. I would love to meet you." He goes, "Hey, Bubba, we'll meet you in Athens." And I'm looking at the map, and I'm like, I got like 45 minutes, and Glenn's got like 2 hours. I said, "No, let's meet halfway. Let's meet in Canton." So I met Glenn in Canton, Texas. And he told me this. He said normally he'll meet for like an hour. We sat there for 4 hours, me and Glenn and Carolyn, and we just had the most amazing time. And before I left, I said, "Glenn," because I know what it's like to get unsolicited material. People, "Oh, I got a cousin that can sing. I got a great song. You should hear it." I didn't want to be that guy, so I was very careful, and I could tell that Glenn really liked me. So I asked him. I said, "Glenn, I'm sure you get asked this all the time, but I've written a Christmas movie, and I was wondering if you could." And before I could even get it out of my head, he said, "I would love to read your script. Send it to me." I sent Glenn the script. Glenn read it, and he told it in class. He said, I was just going to read 25 pages and get some sleep. And he said, "Kevin, I got to 25 pages. I couldn't put it down." He said, "I didn't stop until it was done." He said, "I love it. I would love to be a part of this." So now Glenn Morshower, he was really, originally he was just going to play the role of Sam Showalter, who is my character's manager in the movie. But we also talked, because I kept hearing Glenn talk about how he wanted to get into directing. I said, "How would you like for this to be your directorial debut? Would you be interested in directing the movie?" He goes, "Well, Kevin, I can either direct or I can act, but I don't think I have the energy to do both." I said, "Well, if I had to just pick one, I'd want you to act in it so you can be there with me. But I'd really love it if you would direct." Well, guess what? This will be his directorial debut. He's directing and he's acting, playing the role of Sam Showalter, my manager in The Wish List. So it's been, I don't want to say unbelievable. You don't ever want to say something is unbelievable, because if you say something is unbelievable, that means it's not believable. And if you don't believe it's believable, it's not going to happen. But it is just, and Bob would always say this. He said, when things like this happen, he said, "I'm never surprised because I know how this works." But he said, "I'm always amazed." And I said, "And it has just been amazing, Cynthia, at some of the things that have happened over the last 5.5 years." Now, does it mean it's all been rosy? No. But here's something I've learned. Even the so-called negative things or so-called bad things have a purpose in our life. These things are not happening to punish us. They're happening for us, for our spiritual growth. Everything, even the things that you think is so unfair, this doesn't make sense, there is a purpose in that. And there is good in everything. If you will look, you'll find it. There's good in everything. There's a positive, there's a silver lining in everything. And when I started choosing that perspective, we've all heard this before: "Oh, death, where art thou, sting?" It completely takes the sting out of some of the most traumatic things that have happened in your life when you start looking at it from that perspective. And so that's what I have made a conscious decision to do. Now, is it easy, Cynthia? No, there have been things that have happened just over the last, year, that
Yeah.
I would literally find myself going outside, tear rolling down my face going, "What have I done?" I haven't done anything. It's part of my journey. It's part of my growth, part of my learning experience. And when I understand that, it takes the sting away. I may not like what's happening at the time, but I know that it's not going to stay there. It's not going to stay there. It's going to, life is cyclical. There's a rhythm to life. There's things that happen. You can't appreciate the good if you don't know what the bad's like. You can't appreciate the light if you don't have some darkness. It's all tied together, and it's for our growth. It's what we came here to experience. And when you embrace that, that's where the magic starts to happen.
And not only does he have the magic, but he's working for it every day. What number are you on? He's on Facebook every day. He's doing a little talk, a
Today
walk.
was day 145, and it was about your podcast.
Woohoo! That's the only one I haven't seen, I don't think. Anyway, you can go back. But every time I scroll back down to try to get to one, it popped back up to the top. So I'm I'm getting through. They are, you can see his journey, and he will tell you what's your opening, the awe, the glory, the joy.
It's find the beauty, the awe, and the wonder that's all around. And that, for me, started back on June the 1st. Natalie and I had decided to break up. I
Amen.
In my heart, it just didn't feel real after everything we'd been through, after all the manifestations, and she had growing to do, I had growing to do. And so she made the decision. I didn't want it. I didn't like it, but I obviously am not going to try to manipulate. I just had to go with it. And so I was here, and Cynthia, it was one of the toughest times for me,
No,
to go from how we'd met to being without her, to being apart, and to go, weeks without even getting to hear her voice, other than the recordings I'd go and listen to every day. I couldn't believe that it was real. I had a hard time accepting it. I knew there had to be a reason. And so on June the 1st, I started doing these videos to help get me, because I knew I was in the wrong place mentally. I was thinking the wrong thoughts. And so I figured, well, I'm going to start just today. I'm going to do a video on find the beauty, find the awe and the wonder that's all around. Because for that little bit of time, when I would focus on something beautiful, something wonderful, something awe-inspiring, it would raise my vibration. It would raise my frequency. I would feel better, even if it was just for that little bit of time. And so then I did day 2, then I did day 3. And originally I was only going to do for 30 days. Well, 30 days turned into 145 days, and I do these every day. And I'm going to continue doing these for as long as I can. I mean, it may wind up turning into something on TikTok or a podcast. I don't know what it's going to turn into, but I do these every day, and I just want to share an inspiring message, or if just to help people stop and be grateful, and to find something good, even if it's just for 30 seconds or a minute. And here's what I found out. If you will start with just 30 seconds or a minute on focusing on the good, and you make that into a habit, and you start doing it a little bit longer, things will start to shift. Things will start to shift. And you'll start attracting more of what you want in your life and not what you don't want. And you'll start focusing on the beauty and the awe and the wonder. And when we do that, we feel better. And when we feel better, we take different actions. We take different actions when we feel good than when we feel bad. And when we take different actions, guess what happens? You're going to get a reaction to that. And that reaction produces a new result in your life. And if you make this a habit, day after day after day, your new actions will produce new results in your life that will reinforce your belief that this is how things work. And if you can do that, connect to your heart, anything is possible. But if you don't believe it, you're right. But if you do believe it, you're right. Ask yourself, what's gonna be better for my life? What is going to make me have a happier, more fulfilling life? Believing that it's not true and continuing the way I've been doing it, or taking the possibility that maybe there's something to this and adopting it and trying it for 30 days and see what happens. It will surprise you.
Absolutely, 100%. Glenn taught us, was it MK Gandhi? Your beliefs become your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become your values become your destiny. And that circles back to the beginning of our podcast. You can go back and watch that, because right now we just have time for Kevin to take us out with one song.
I would love that. And I'm so grateful.
So
Cynthia.
Beautiful, Kevin. Thank you.
You are very welcome. Okay. There is a music video out on YouTube for this song. Now, once the movie comes out, the wish list, once the movie comes out, we will create a new music video for the song, but it's called Yesterday Road. And this is a song that is featured in the movie when my character, which by the way, his name is Blake Austin, when Blake Austin comes back to his hometown to see if he can bring himself to sell the house that he grew up in after his mom and dad pass away. The song is called Yesterday Road. There's a house on Yesterday Road. It's more than just a house, it's home sweet home. It's the one place I can go when the world starts closing in on me, where I never hear I told you so, and I can always just be me at the house on Yesterday Road. I turned the other cheek again today. Funny how things never seem to go my way. I feel like crying. Inside I'm dying, piece by piece, a little more each day. I've had enough, I've got to get away to the house on Yesterday Road. It's more than just a house, it's home sweet home. It's the one place I can go when the world starts closing in on me, where I never hear I told you so, and I can always just be me at the house on Yesterday Road. You know, I used to think I'd never come back home, but since I've been gone, it's the only place I never feel alone. That's the house on Yesterday Road. It's more than just a house, it's home sweet home. It's the one place I can go when the world starts closing in on me, where I never hear I told you so, and I can always just be me at the house, at my home, the only home I've really known is on Yesterday Road, on Yesterday Road.
Yeah. Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Kevin Blake Weldon. And we'll keep you posted for the wish list.
Yes.
Keep your wishes. Take a step, take a walk. Look at the awe, the joy, the wonder all around you. Breathe in and say thank you so much to Kevin Blake Weldon for blessing us with his presence this evening.
Thank you, Cynthia. I really enjoyed it.
Me too. If you just hang out with us, we will go into the green room.
Sure.
And we want